Hello, this is Survival-gyver, and this week's literature of choice is Nuclear War Survival Skills, Life-Saving Nuclear Facts and Self-Help Instructions by Cresson H. Kearney. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, my apologies. Introduction by Don D. Mann, who's an ex-Navy SEAL, and forward by Dr. Edward Teller, who I believe was the father of the hydrogen bomb. So I'm all for knowing as much as I can about all sorts of topics. So this book is actually really interesting. A lot of this is a how do I put it? It's a this is a pretty much a manual of civil defense. It contains information from the Oak Ridge National Laboratory during the Cold War. There's a whole bunch of things in here from Japan and other countries about shelters and how to filter out radiation or radiological particles from water and air. Pretty much what you can do to help survive or to prepare for nuclear war, which seems kind of important nowadays with whatever's going on between Ukraine and Russia and the United States and China and everyone else. So hopefully none of this information is needed, but it's good to know it. Now, this isn't the newest book. The newest book was, I think it was a 2022 edition, which was expanded regarding Ukraine, Russia, and the world. So I haven't read that one yet. This one, sorry for the light, can't do much about that, is a, see if I can zoom in here. So this one's published in 2015. Originally in 1986, but this is a 2015 edition. And it has loads and loads of awesome information. So again, forward by Dr. Edward Teller. He is the father of hydrogen bomb. You learn about some of the other authors in here. You got a bunch of chapters in here: dangers of nuclear weapons, myths and facts, psychological preparation, evacuation shelters, ventilation, lighting, sanitation, improvised clothing and protective items, and all sorts of ways on how to make different kinds of shelters. So that's actually really interesting, including they talk about a cap. It's a Kearns air pump, Kearney air pump, I believe it is. I can never pronounce that one right, my apologies. So they tell you all different ways of doing it, including some things I've never seen before, which is actually interesting. For you can take the same information and apply it to bushcrafting or outdoor survival, like how to make like a makeshift pulley. They use it for an air pump in here. I actually marked it off with some tags. Yeah, there's a bunch of tags in there. I pulled it over. So it gives you a bunch of information. So let's take a look. Talk about the author in here. Let's see, where's my first section here? So they talk about the shelter. You know, what would be considered adequate shelter. What you need specifically against radiation to protect you for different kinds of radiation. There's protection against fires and carbon monoxide, because you'll be in a shelter, and there's all sorts of things here you need to be worried about, whether it's carbon monoxide from something that you have in your shelter or fires ignited by heat radiation, and many other things in here. How to filter water, how to remove radioactivity from water, which is really, it's pretty much the same way you purify water anyway. Porous cloth would be like a shamag or coffee filter or anything of that nature. Water on top, clay soil, pebbles. And here they're using a can. Cans for the main part of it, and then sticks in between it to help filter water. It's the same way you would filter water regularly. So, it's just going over that information again, in my opinion. So that's always good to see. how to build an improvised grain mill. It's kind of cool. Cooking with minimum fuel. So that, not just for radiological issues, but that's also important for, if you're in an urban environment, if you're an urban prepper, SHTF happens, and wherever you are, whether you'll be out in the woods or in an urban environment or a rural environment, you can cook with minimum fuel, and I tell you how to do it, especially for crowded shelters and such. In this edition, all the pictures are black and white. I don't know if if the 2022 is in color or not, but most of these pictures are from the 70s during the Cold War, so take it as you can on that end. We have another good one, improvised clothing and protective items. So cold weather, hot weather, what you can use to, like winter footwear. So all of this is really interesting because this is on the basis of radiological, but this applies to everything as well. So this is a really good reference manual. It's actually not that bad of a read either. I've read the whole book a couple of times. Scared some people at work when I brought it to work to read, but it is what it is. Let's see, basic 1 year survival rations for one adult male, ounces per day, pounds per year. Now again, this is back in the 70s, so most people nowadays are heavier, so you may have to extend this a little bit more, but the information here is pretty useful otherwise. You talk about cost of 1 year food supply for a family shelter, sources of basic foods listed. You can see here that this printing mistake in here, but it's okay. Local water sources. So this is just a really good reference guide to have. How to do light. Hey look, the candle in a can trick that everybody tries to use during an emergency when they lose power. It's in here too. So all of this is basically usable for everything. They talk about hazardous fuels, canned heat, wood, bucket stoves, and then of course you have shelters, and there are some pretty big diagrams in here. Now this is a small pole shelter, and it's got, I can't turn the book sideways because the tripod's in the way, but they're pretty detailed, so that's pretty cool. Door covered shelters, or shelters as above ground ridgepole shelter. All of this could be used bushcrafting in urban environments if necessary. Above ground crib wall shelter, which is crib wall. Hey look, it's a log cabin, just about. So those are pretty common. Here's the one when they talk about caps, the KAP for the air pump. But here's something I didn't realize, and it's good that I learned it. Improvised pulley from a wide-angled forked limb. Never thought about it. I would just normally go over a regular branch, but that's not a bad idea. I could have a movable pulley as necessary instead of trying to find one naturally. So that's cool. I didn't know about that, and I know I've read a lot of outdoor books, and I've been outdoors a lot. That's awesome. And they talk about, these are for larger air pumps where you can move more air through a shelter, or if you need, this will also work if you were running like a metal forge and you need to move a lot of air into your forge to get it nice and hot. You can do something like this as well. Now in the back you have all sorts of instructions. This is actually how to create a radiological meter. It goes back quite a ways. Homemade fallout meter, the KFM, how to make it and use it, and there's about 75 pages on it about how you do each and every single little part of it, how you can, how to read dose rates, how to use a dry bucket, it just goes on pages and pages and pages of stuff in here. Again, that's part of the other, part of more of the radiological stuff. There's an interesting one here. Expedient blast shelters. So if you see something coming, if you have the chance of seeing something coming and you're trying to duck and kiss your butt goodbye, there are some interesting things here. So, practicality expedite blast shelters. At Hiroshima and Nagasaki, simple wood-framed shelters, about 3 feet of earth over wooden roofs, were undamaged by blast effects in areas where substantial buildings were demolished. So, blast. That's the heat and the air vacuum and everything afterwards. The whole compressor force. This is not talking about radiation directly, but how to survive in a shelter to begin with. And then they can go from there, and that's actually has to deal with the D1, small earth-covered backyard shelter with a crude wooden frame, undamaged, although only 300 yards from ground zero at Hiroshima. So, let's see. Shows a Hiroshima shelter that people with hand tools could build in a day if poles or timber were available. This shelter withstood blast and fire at an overpressure range of about 65 psi. It's a narrow room and a 3-foot thick earth cover brought about effective earth arching. This kept its yielding wooden frame from being broken. So, yeah, it's as if you were making a cave and you have the wooden cribbage. Not a cave, a tunnel with wooden cribbage. Same concept. So, I talk about more shelter designs. Actually, all the pages at the end are shelter designs. So, this is actually really interesting. There's all sorts of stuff in here. There's another air pump. How to make all the partitions and putting the pump together. And these last pages have some water damage to it, I think. They were kind of wrinkled in my book. I don't remember ever dropping anything on it, but I could be wrong. Filter box and filter. So you can try to filter out contaminants. It's all about ventilation. Emergency exits. Windows. And then there's several, it's like 10 pages of references. So that is, in a quick view, the Nuclear War Survival Skills book by Cresson H. Kearns. I'm going to have a link in the description for both Kindle and Amazon if you're interested in looking at the book further, or you could always find it at your local library. Well, most libraries, unless it's banned, I don't know yet. Again, they do have a 2022 edition. I haven't seen it, so I don't know what the difference is, other than I talk about Russia and Ukraine and emerging threats. But it's a really good reference guide. So I would take a look, because a lot of the information in here can be used on other forms of survival, whether it be urban or, as I said, woodland, bushcraft, that kind of thing, not just nuclear. So take a look. You might like it, you might not, but the information's good, even if you don't like the book. You know, at least if it's sitting inside your head, when the time comes, it may give you an idea on what to do next. So take a look. Any questions or comments, leave them below. Of course, like and subscribe if you like it, you want to see more about it. Next week's book is probably on climbing. So that'll be next, probably. And I'm going to do one about once a week, just as an addition to the page, to the channel. Hey, thank you for watching, and have a glorious day, and be safe out there.